The arena floor was slick with blood. 12 different species worth of blood, to be precise. I kept count, because that was my job. Arena Master Vrolk the Undefeated demanded accuracy in his records, and after 300 cycles of watching him tear apart challengers, I had gotten very good at counting. "Next!" Vrolk roared, his forearms flexing as he tossed aside what remained of a Krell warrior. The crowd in the stands went absolutely insane. Thousands of voices screaming in a dozen languages, all basically saying the same thing. More violence, more death, more entertainment. I checked my datapad. Master Vrolk, there is one remaining challenger for today. Excellent! He slammed his primary fists together, the sound echoing like thunder through the dome. What species? Another Krell? Perhaps a Thaxian this time. I have been craving a proper fight. I squinted at the screen. The registration says Human Master. Vrolk's triumphant expression flickered, just for a moment. Then he laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. A human? Someone actually sent a human to my arena? The crowd's bloodlust turned into confused murmuring. Humans were not exactly known for their combat prowess. They were decent pilots, adequate engineers, surprisingly good at commerce and negotiation. But warriors? No, absolutely not. Humans were soft, squishy things that broke easily and died quickly. Send it in, Vrolk commanded, still chuckling. I could use something easy after that, Krell. At least it tried to fight back. The entrance gate groaned open. I leaned forward in my observation booth, curiosity getting the better of my professional detachment. In 300 cycles, I had never seen a human volunteer for the arena. They were too smart for that. What walked through that gate made me blink all three of my eyes in rapid succession. She was small, barely came up to Vrolk's lower chest, and he was not even particularly tall for a Grolmek. Her skin was that weird peachy tan color humans came in, and her hair was a dark brown, pulled back in some kind of functional knot. She wore simple combat gear. Nothing fancy, nothing ceremonial. Just practical armor that had clearly seen use before. And she was smiling. Not a brave smile, not a terrified smile masked as courage. A genuine, almost amused smile, like she had just heard a particularly good joke and was waiting to share the punchline. Vrolk stopped laughing. You? You are the human challenger? That would be me, yeah. Her voice carried across the arena without shouting. Confident? Calm. The translator caught the nuances perfectly. Name's Kira Vex. Nice place you have got here. Very dramatic. The blood splatter really ties the room together. The crowd went silent. Dead silent. Nobody talked to Vrolk like that. Nobody. Vrolk's face darkened to a deeper shade of purple. Do you understand where you are, human? This is the arena of eternal glory. I am Vrolk the Undefeated. I have killed warriors. From 73 different worlds. I have broken champions and heroes and legends. And you walk in here making jokes? Kira tilted her head, still smiling. See, that is where we might have a communication problem. You said legends. But I checked your record before I signed up. You have fought a lot of people, sure. Big people, strong people, people with claws and fangs and apparently way too much confidence. But you know what I did not see on your list? She paused. The silence stretched out like a physical thing. A human. Vrolk laughed again, but it sounded forced this time. Because humans know better than to face me. Your species values survival over glory. It is why you will never be truly great. Huh? Kira reached behind her back and drew a sword. Not an energy blade, not a plasma cutter. An actual, physical, metal sword. It gleamed under the arena lights, the edge looking sharp enough to split atoms. Funny thing about survival, it is kind of our specialty. We are really, really good at it. Annoyingly good, actually. We survive things that should definitely kill us. Extreme temperatures, toxic environments, predators, diseases, bad decisions. Honestly, at this point, it is just embarrassing how hard we are to kill. I found myself leaning even further forward. This was not normal challenger behavior. Challengers were either terrified or arrogant. Kira seemed neither. She seemed casual, like she was having a conversation at a market rather than facing certain death. Vrolk's patience, never his strongest attribute, finally snapped. Enough talk. Face me, human, and I will show you why I am called undefeated, he charged. All four arms extended, claws out, moving with the speed that had ended so many lives before. The crowd gasped. This was it. The human would be paced in about 3 seconds. Kira moved, not backward, not to the side, forward. She dropped low, sliding across the blood-slicked floor like it was ice, passing directly between Vrolk's legs before he could adjust his attack. Her sword flashed once, twice. Vrolk stumbled, looked down. Both of his leg tendons had been cut. Not severed, just cut. Precise. Surgical. He crashed to his knees with a roar that shook the arena walls. The crowd went from silent to explosive in half a second. Screaming. Shouting. I could not tell if they were excited or outraged. Possibly both. Kira rolled to her feet behind Vrolk, sword held loosely at her side. See, here is the thing about being undefeated. It makes you predictable. You always charge. Every single fight I watched on the archive feeds, you open with a charge. Big, dramatic, scary. Works great on people who are already terrified. But me? She shrugged. I grew up on a colony world where the local wildlife had acid spit and pack-hunting instincts. Your charge is actually kind of slow by comparison. No offense. Vrolk spun, slower now, hampered by his damaged legs. You dare! I will rip you apart. Yeah, probably. Kira nodded agreeably. I mean, you have got a significant size and strength advantage. 4 arms versus my 2. Reach advantage. Weight advantage. If this turns into a grappling match, I am absolutely dead. So I guess I will just have to make sure that does not happen. She moved again. This time, I actually could track it, but barely. She was not faster than Vrolk. She was just always in the wrong place. When he swung his upper right arm, she was ducking under his lower left. When he tried to grab her with 2 hands at once, she was rolling between them. It was like watching someone dance in a rainstorm without getting wet. And every time she moved, that sword found flesh. Small cuts. Precise cuts. Nothing immediately fatal, but each one carefully placed to limit mobility, to cause pain, to force Vrolk to adjust his strategy. Blood, his blood this time, started to pool on the arena floor. "Stand still!" Vrolk bellowed, frustration evident in every syllable. Why would I do that? Kira actually sounded curious. That seems like a terrible survival strategy. Another charge, another slide, another cut, this time across Vrolk's lower left arm. The crowd was going absolutely berserk now. Half of them were cheering for Kira. The other half were screaming for Vrolk to end this humiliation. I checked my datapad out of habit, even though I could not look away from the arena. In 300 cycles, Vrolk had never bled this much in a fight, had never been forced to work this hard, had certainly never been mocked while fighting. "You know what is funny?" Kira said, breathing slightly harder now, but still moving, still dancing away from Vrolk's increasingly desperate attacks. "You asked me if I understood where I was. But did you ever ask yourself who I was? Before I walked in here? Vrolk did not answer. He was too busy trying to land a hit. Any hit. I am a bounty hunter. Have been for 8 years. You know what bounty hunting teaches you? How to take down targets that are bigger, stronger, and more dangerous than you. Because if you only fought people your own size, you would never make any money. So you learn. You learn to be smart, to be patient, to survive long enough to find the weakness. She ducked under a wild haymaker, came up inside Vrolk's guard, and drove her sword through his lower right shoulder. Not deep, just deep enough to pin the arm temporarily against his torso. Vrolk screamed. Actually screamed. Not a roar of rage, a scream of pain. Kira yanked the sword free and danced back. You see, Master Vrolk, you asked if I understood where I was, but I think the better question is, do you understand what I am? I am not a warrior. I am not a hero. I am not some legend looking for glory. She pointed the sword at him. Blood dripped from the blade. I am a human, and we do not fight fair. We fight to win. Vrolk charged again, slower now, clumsier, but still dangerous, still lethal if he connected. Kira sidestepped, almost lazy. Her sword came up and across in a movement so smooth it looked choreographed. The blade caught Vrolk across the face, opening a long cut from his left eye to his jaw. He stopped, swayed, raised one hand to his face, and stared at the blood on his fingers, like he could not quite believe it was his. You cannot defeat me, he said. But he sounded uncertain. For the first time in 300 cycles, Vrolk the Undefeated sounded uncertain. No one has ever defined defeat. Kira lowered her sword slightly. See, that is the other thing about humans. We are really good at redefining terms. You said no human survives your arena. I am standing. You are bleeding. So either I am surviving right now, which makes you wrong, or we need to have a serious discussion about what the word survive actually means. The crowd was chanting now. I could not make out the words. Too many species, too many languages. But the energy had shifted. They were not watching an execution anymore. They were watching a fight. An actual, genuine, uncertain outcome fight. Vrolk looked up at the stands, at the thousands of faces staring down at him, then back at Kira. Who are you? He asked. Not aggressive, not angry, just genuinely confused. Kira smiled again, that same casual, almost friendly smile. I already told you. I am Kira Vex. I am from Earth, and I came here to test a theory. What theory? That being undefeated just means you have not fought the right person yet. She raised her sword again. Not threatening. Just ready. Vrolk took a step forward. His leg gave out. He caught himself with his upper arms, breathing hard. Blood loss and tendon damage finally catching up with him. This is impossible, he muttered. You are just a human. Yeah, Kira nodded. Just a human. Which means I am stubborn, adaptable, and absolutely terrible at knowing when to quit. Also, fun fact, humans have this thing called persistence hunting. We are not the fastest, not the strongest, but we can keep going long after everything else drops dead from exhaustion. It is kind of our whole evolutionary strategy. We just do not stop. Vrolk tried to stand. Could not. Tried again. Failed. I saw the exact moment he realized he had lost. His forearms dropped, his head lowered. The mighty Vrolk the Undefeated, kneeling in his own blood, defeated by a creature a third his size. The arena had gone quiet again. Waiting. Watching. Kira walked forward slowly. Carefully. Her sword still ready. She stopped just outside Vrolk's reach. Here is the thing. she said. Her voice was quieter now, but in the silence, everyone could hear. I did not come here to kill you. I came here to prove a point. You said no human survives your arena. Well, I am surviving. I am winning. And I am giving you a choice. Vrolk raised his head. What choice? Yield. Acknowledge that you were wrong about humans. Update your little catchphrase to something more accurate. And I walk away. You live. You heal. You learn. And maybe next time you will think twice before assuming any species is easy prey. And if I refuse? Kira's smile faded. Her expression went flat, cold. Then I finish this fight. And trust me, Master Vrolk, I know exactly where to cut to make it quick. I am good at my job. The silence stretched. Seconds felt like hours. Finally, Vrolk spoke. His voice was rough, defeated. I yield! The crowd exploded, cheering, screaming, absolute chaos. Kira lowered her sword, stepped back, and bowed. Actually bowed, like she had just finished a friendly sparring match instead of humiliating the arena's greatest champion. I activated my communicator with shaking hands. Medical team to the arena floor. Master Vrolk requires assistance. Teams rushed in, hovering stretchers, trauma equipment. They surrounded Vrolk, who looked smaller somehow, diminished by his defeat. Kira cleaned her sword on a cloth from her belt, sheathed it, and turned to walk toward the exit. I activated the arena speakers before I could stop myself. Human! Kira Vex! She stopped, looked up at my observation booth. What happens now? I asked. Because in 300 cycles, I had never seen anyone leave this arena alive after facing Vrolk. She grinned. Now, I collect my winnings. Your advertisement said any challenger who survives gets 50,000 credits. I survived. In fact, I think I did more than survive. I won. So I figure you probably owe me a bonus. The prize was for surviving, not winning, I said automatically. Oh, I know. But here is the thing about humans. We are also really good at negotiating. So how about we call it an even 100,000, and I will leave a positive review on the Galactic Combat Sports Network. Trust me, you want the positive review. After today, this place is going to be famous. I should have said no. Should have followed protocol. Should have consulted the administrators. Instead, I started laughing. Could not help it. This absurd, impossible, completely insane human had just beaten the unbeatable, humiliated a legend, and was now trying to upsell her prize money. Deal, I said. 100,000 credits. Transferred immediately. Pleasure doing business with you. Kira waved and walked toward the exit. The gates opened for her. She stepped through without looking back. The crowd was still screaming. Vrolk was being loaded onto a medical stretcher, and I sat in my observation booth, staring at my data pad. 300 cycles. 7,419 fights. 1 defeat. By a human. I started typing the report. This was going to be impossible to explain. At the bottom of the screen, a message notification appeared. From Kira Vex, sent 5 seconds ago. I opened it. Thanks for the fight. Tell Vrolk I hope he heals up quick. And hey, if you ever need someone to update your arena's challenge system to include weight classes and species-appropriate opponents, I know a guy. Humans are good at safety regulations. We kind of have to be. Talk soon. Kira. I sat back in my chair and laughed again. Because what else could I do? Humans. Just when you thought you understood them, they completely redefined the rules. And apparently, they were impossible to kill. 3 days after the fight, my office door exploded inward. Not literally. Although given recent events, I would not have been surprised. Vrolk stormed through, all 4 arms bandaged, his face still bearing the healing scar from Kira's blade. Behind him came Administrator Kell, our facility's financial overseer, looking about as happy as a Venthic during molting season. "Rax!" Vrolk's voice was tight, controlled, dangerous. "We need to talk about the human." I set down my morning stimulant drink. "Master Vrolk, you should be resting. The medical staff said at least 2 more weeks before full mobility returns. The medical staff can file their concerns in writing." He lowered himself carefully into the reinforced chair across from my desk. Even injured, he radiated menace. Except now I had seen what happened when menace met preparation. "The human. Where is she?" "Gone. Left the station approximately 6 hours after the match, collected her payment, and departed on a transport heading toward the Outer Rim territories." I pulled up the tracking data on my screen. Standard procedure for arena survivors. We do not monitor them after departure unless contractually obligated. "Find her." I blinked. All 3 eyes, in sequence. "I am sorry." "What?" Administrator Kell stepped forward, his tentacles writhing in agitation. "The fight has gone viral, Rax. Completely, catastrophically viral. 47 million views across the galactic network in 3 days. Every major news outlet has run the story. The human who defeated Vrolk, the undefeated. They are calling it the upset of the century." "Is that not good for business?" I asked carefully. "Good." Kell's voice rose to a pitch that made my ear membranes ache. "We have received 8,000 challenge requests in the last 72 hours. 8,000! From humans! Every single human bounty hunter, mercenary, and glory seeker in the galaxy apparently thinks they can replicate what Kira Vex did. Our security systems are being overwhelmed. We had to hire 3 additional staff members just to process the applications." "Oh, no?" Vrolk leaned forward, his expression unreadable. "I want a rematch." "You want to fight her again?" I could not keep the disbelief out of my voice. She was right. I was predictable, overconfident. I fought like I was owed victory instead of earning it. His primary hands clenched into fists. For 300 cycles, I won because opponents came to my arena already defeated, terrified, convinced they would die. She came expecting to win. That changes everything. With respect, Master Vrolk, she cut your tendons in the first 30 seconds. Exactly. Something that might have been a smile crossed his scarred face. In 30 seconds, she taught me more about combat than I learned in the previous 300 cycles. Do you know what I did after the medical team cleared me? I watched recordings of her fights. All of them. Every bounty she collected. Every target she brought down. He activated his personal holo display. Images flickered to life above my desk. Kira Vex in various combat scenarios, taking down a Thorgian crime lord, cornering a rogue android on a mining station, leading a team through a hostage extraction. She fights smart, Vrolk continued, uses terrain, studies her opponents, adapts mid-combat. These are skills I never needed because raw power always worked. Until it did not. I need to face her again. Properly prepared this time. Properly trained. Administrator Kell's tentacles stopped writhing. If we can arrange a rematch, properly marketed, with both fighters at full capacity, the revenue potential would be substantial. Unprecedented, even. We could charge triple our normal viewing fees, quadruple for arena attendance. I looked between them. You realize she might say no? She won. Collected her payment. She has no obligation to return. Then we make her an offer she cannot refuse, Kell said. What do humans value? Credits? Fame? Resources? Based on her psychological profile? I pulled up the file I had been compiling since the fight. Professional habit. Know your arena participants. She values challenge, proving herself, and, based on her message to me, improving broken systems. She is a fixer, sees problems and solves them. Vrolk stood, moving carefully but deliberately. Then we give her a problem to fix. Find her, Rax. Make the offer. And tell her I said thank you. Thank you? I repeated. She humiliated you in front of millions. She taught me humility. For a warrior, that lesson is priceless. He turned toward the door, paused, then looked back. Also, tell her the next fight will be different. I will be ready, and I expect her to be as well. After they left, I sat alone in my office, staring at the tracking data. Finding Kira Vex would not be difficult. Humans left data trails everywhere. The question was whether she would be interested in coming back. Only one way to find out. I sent the message. 48 hours later, my communicator chirped with an incoming call. The ID read, Kira Vex. I answered immediately. Her face appeared on screen, that same casual smile in place. She was somewhere dimly lit, possibly a ship's cabin. Rax, right? The arena coordinator who actually has a sense of humor? I liked you. Miss Vex, thank you for returning my communication. Call me Kira. And, yeah, I figured you would reach out eventually. That fight got way more attention than I expected. My message queue exploded. I have had 17 marriage proposals, 42 death threats, and one very confused restaurant owner who wants me to endorse his noodle shop. It has been a weird week. Despite everything, I found myself smiling. I imagine. So, I am contacting you with a proposal. Master Vrolk wishes to request a rematch. Her expression shifted. Interested. Does he now? That is unexpected. Most fighters who get beaten that badly do not want a second helping. Master Vrolk is not most fighters. He claims you taught him valuable lessons. He has been training differently, studying your techniques. He believes a second match would be beneficial for both participants. And let me guess, your administrator thinks it would be beneficial for ticket sales? That is also accurate, yes, Kira laughed. At least you are honest. Okay, I am listening. What are the terms? I outlined the offer. Double her previous payment, full medical coverage, control over match conditions and rules. Plus, and this was Kell's masterstroke, a consulting contract to redesign the arena's challenge system with proper safety protocols and species-appropriate classifications. She was quiet for a long moment. You are serious about the consulting work? Completely. Your message about safety regulations resonated with our administration. We have realized our current system is dangerously unbalanced. We need expertise to correct that. Your expertise? Huh. She leaned back, thinking. And Vrolk actually wants this fight? Not just because his pride is wounded? He asked me to tell you thank you. For the lesson in humility. Another pause. Longer this time. Okay, she said finally. I am in. But I have conditions. First, the fight is non-lethal. Clear victory conditions. No death. I proved my point last time. This time should be about growth, not survival. Agreed. Second, I want 3 weeks to prepare. If Vrolk has been training, I need time too. Fair is fair. Reasonable. Third, and this is non-negotiable, 10% of all proceeds from the fight go to establishing a medical fund for injured arena fighters. Past, present, and future. You have got fighters who got torn apart in that arena and received minimal care afterward. That changes now. I hesitated. That would require administrative approval. But looking at her expression, I knew she meant it. No fund, no fight. I will make it happen, I promised. Then we have a deal. Send me the contracts. I will be there in 3 weeks. And Rax? Tell Vrolk I am looking forward to it. A fighter who can learn from defeat is way more interesting than one who never loses. The call ended. I sat back, already drafting the message to Kel and Vrolk. This was either going to be brilliant or catastrophic. Possibly both. 3 weeks later, the arena was packed beyond capacity. We had to add extra viewing screens outside the facility for the overflow crowd. Species from across the galaxy had traveled to witness the rematch. The betting pools had reached astronomical numbers. I stood in my observation booth, watching the preparations. The arena floor had been cleaned, repaired, and modified per Kira's specifications. Medical teams stood ready. New safety protocols were in place. Everything was different this time. Vrolk entered first. The crowd roared. But he looked different too. Leaner, his movements more controlled. Less reliance on raw power, more focus on precision. 3 weeks of training with purpose had transformed him. Then Kira walked in. Same practical armor. Same sword. But something in her posture had changed too. More serious. This was not a point to prove anymore. This was respect between equals. They met in the center of the arena. No theatrics, no speeches. Vrolk extended his primary right hand. Human gesture. Handshake. Kira took it without hesitation. "Ready?" she asked. "Ready," he confirmed. They separated, took their positions. The crowd fell silent. I activated the match start signal. And this time, Vrolk did not charge. He circled, patient, watchful, studying her movements. Kira mirrored him, equally cautious. This was not the same fight. Both fighters had evolved. The first exchange came fast. Vrolk feinted with his upper arms, struck with his lower right. Kira blocked instead of dodging, testing his strength. They broke apart immediately. "Better," Kira said, genuinely impressed. "You too. New armor plating? Reinforced shoulder guards. You hit harder than I expected last time." They were talking, during the fight, analyzing each other in real time. The next exchange lasted longer. Vrolk mixed up his attacks, high and low, using all 4 arms in rotating combinations. Kira adapted, her sword work more defensive now, looking for openings instead of creating them. No easy victories this time. Every movement earned, every advantage fought for. The crowd was absolutely mesmerized. This was not an execution. This was art. 10 minutes in, both fighters were breathing hard. Vrolk had landed 2 solid hits. Kira had opened 3 minor cuts. Nothing decisive, everything tactical. "You studied my bounties," Kira said, blocking a combination strike. "All 73 of them," Vrolk replied, pressing forward. "You adapt to every opponent. Use their strengths against them. Make them commit to attacks that leave them vulnerable. And you figured out the counter. Stay flexible. Do not commit fully. Keep me guessing." I had an excellent teacher. They broke apart again, circling, breathing, thinking. Then Kira did something unexpected. She lowered her sword, not surrendering, offering. "What if we both win?" she asked. Vrolk stopped, confused. "Explain." "We proved what we needed to prove. You are not unbeatable. I am not indestructible. We are both better fighters than we were 3 weeks ago. What if instead of one of us defeating the other, we declare this a draw? Both victorious. Both champions." The crowd started murmuring. This was unprecedented. Vrolk considered, his 4 arms slowly lowered. "The arena has never had a draw. Then we redefine the rules, again. That is what we do, right? Humans and fighters who learn. We make new rules when the old ones do not fit. A smile spread across Vrolk's scarred face. Administrator Kell will have a fit. Oh, definitely. But imagine the publicity. The rematch that ended in mutual victory. The warrior and the human who respected each other enough to share the win. That is a better story than either of us just winning. Vrolk raised his primary hand again. Partners! Kira sheathed her sword and took his hand. Partners! The crowd went absolutely insane. Half cheering, half confused, all completely captivated. I activated my communicator to Kell. Sir, we have a situation. His voice came back strangled. They cannot just decide on a draw. That is not how arenas work. With respect, Administrator, I think they just redefined how arenas work. Below, Vrolk and Kira raised their joined hands to the crowd. Together, equal, victorious, and somehow, impossibly, it was perfect. 6 months later, I stood in the newly renovated arena, watching the first match under our revised system. Weight classes, species classifications, proper medical protocols, safety measures. Everything Kira had suggested, implemented, and improved. Vrolk ran the training program now, teaching young fighters the lessons he had learned. Discipline, humility, adaptation. His students came from dozens of worlds, all eager to learn from the warrior who had been undefeated until he met someone who taught him defeat was just another kind of victory. Kira visited monthly, consulting on new protocols and occasionally taking exhibition matches. She had become something of a legend, the human who changed everything. My communicator buzzed. Message from Kira. Hey Rax, heard you are getting record attendance numbers. Told you the safety improvements would be good for business. Also, found another broken system that needs fixing. Interested in consulting work for a mining operation that treats workers like disposable equipment? Could use someone who understands bureaucracy and has a conscience. Let me know. Kira. I smiled and started typing my response. Humans. They did not just survive. They improved. They fixed. They redefined. And they made the rest of the galaxy better in the process. Annoying, really, but in the best possible way.